Is now a good time to buy. I built a real estate development business, about 115 million gross development value by the time I was 28. And since 2022, built an asset management business, which has basically been acquiring high yielding assets across the country. And I wrote to our investors in 2022, basically saying that the way that we value assets was fundamentally going to change, that inflation was not transitory, that it was more permanent, that we're going to see deglobalization, create a breakdown of supply chains, rising costs, higher inflation, higher rates, and therefore a tilt towards buying high-yielding assets rather than high-value properties. And so the question is it a good time to buy now? Well, it obviously depends what you're buying. As you can see in the Northeast, house prices between February 2025, February 2026 went up 4.1%. Yet in London, they declined 0.3%, and that's not even adjusted for inflation. And so obviously it depends where you buy them, but I'm becoming more open to buying low-yielding assets, especially in prime areas. And the reason being is I think that we're beginning to get to a point in the cycle where you can, in theory, if you buy the asset at the right price, hold it for long enough to start to see the end of this inflationary period. Broadly speaking, we set out our stall that we felt that some point between 2029 and 2031 that effectively inflation will begin to ease significantly, which would start to and we'll see significant deflationary pressures. Now, in that environment where you start to see massive increase in money supply, rates coming down significantly, then you would start seeing prime central London assets or prime assets generally, which are on a low yield basis, start to increase in value significantly. You'd also begin to see changes in taxation as well, which also increase more money supply into the system. So all of these things happening, I think we're in an interesting inflection point in the cycle where in theory, whilst now is not a good time to buy because of the prevailing forces I just mentioned, if you could hold the asset for long enough, come 2029, come 2031, broadly during that period, I personally feel that is when the mood begins to change and you can't begin to see some significant uplift. So I think that we're getting there.